How far would you go to look perfect? Would you bet your health, your body, or even your life? Some people did, and the results were terrifying. From a woman who needed 9 surgeries to save her life after a tummy tuck, to a man who died after 300 procedures. These are the tragic stories of plastic surgery gone too far. Number 15. Holly Mccullock. In 2018, 28-year-old Holly Mccullock, a mother of 2 from Greasby, UK, came across an Instagram ad that caught her attention. It offered breast augmentation surgery in Turkey for just $3,500, complete with a stay at a luxurious resort. For Holly, it seemed like the perfect chance to improve her confidence and make a change in her life. But things didn't go as planned. Right after the surgery, Holly woke up to a nightmare. Her chest looked strange, completely uneven. One breast was much larger than the other, with the implants clearly misaligned. It was impossible to ignore the difference, as one side looked like a B cup and the other a D cup. The pain was intense, but when Holly voiced her concerns, the clinic staff brushed her off. They told her it was just normal post-surgery discomfort, nothing to worry about. Soon, things got much worse. Within a few weeks, a 7-centimeter hole appeared on her surgical wound. It smelled awful. Holly later described it as rotting meat. Even more horrifying, the implant began to push out of her skin, a serious complication called implant exposure. Despite these alarming signs, the clinic offered no real support. Desperate, Holly flew back home to Manchester. Local doctors were shocked when they examined her. They discovered a severe infection around her implants, requiring emergency surgery. Both implants had to be removed immediately to stop the infection from spreading further. Holly's body was left scarred, and her confidence shattered. She described herself as feeling like a total freak, overwhelmed by the physical and emotional damage caused by the surgery. Number 14. April Brown. April Brown had everything going for her. She was a talented cosmetologist, a skilled fashion designer, and a proud mother of 2 daughters. Her life seemed perfect, but all of that changed when she decided to get a cosmetic procedure to enhance her buttocks. She went to someone who wasn't licensed and received injections of industrial silicone, the kind of material you'd find in bathroom caulking. At first, it seemed like nothing was wrong, but things quickly turned into a nightmare. The silicone caused horrible infections all over her body, and her health began to fail. Doctors tried to save her, but they couldn't stop the damage. Finally, they had to make a heartbreaking choice: either amputate her hands and feet or let her die. April survived, but she lost all 4 limbs and her independence. Her story shocked people everywhere. It showed the terrible risks of trusting unqualified practitioners for cosmetic procedures. The person who injected April used materials that were never meant for humans. Unlike proper medical silicone, this industrial version destroyed her tissues, caused blood poisoning, and even put her organs at risk. April's tragedy became a loud warning about the dangers of unregulated beauty treatments. Number 13. Michelle Williams. Michelle Williams was a 46-year-old teacher from East London. She wanted to improve her appearance, so in 2020, she traveled to Turkey for a nose job. It was supposed to be simple, a routine surgery that usually takes only a few hours. But things went horribly wrong. Shortly after receiving anesthesia, Michelle went into cardiac arrest. Her condition quickly got worse. She suffered seizures that lasted for 3 hours, and during that time, her brain didn't get enough oxygen. This caused severe brain damage. Michelle was put on life support and had to breathe through a tube in her throat. She spent more than 12 weeks in a Turkish hospital, unconscious and in critical condition. Her family faced an awful situation when the hospital refused to release her until they paid a massive £20,000 bill. The family struggled to bring her back to the UK, and the case became a complex legal and diplomatic battle. Michelle's tragedy revealed how risky it can be to get medical procedures done abroad. Number 12. Lindsay Colosimo. In early 2019, Lindsay Colosimo from Florida decided to undergo a series of cosmetic surgeries in Colombia to celebrate her upcoming milestone birthday. She planned to have a tummy tuck, breast reduction, and butt lift all at once. Lindsay hoped these changes would bring her closer to her idea of physical perfection. But instead, her decision led to a terrifying, life-threatening experience. The trouble began right after surgery. Lindsay noticed severe pain and unusual discharge coming from her wounds, but the clinic staff didn't seem concerned. At one point, a nurse tried to treat her obvious infection by massaging the area with oil, thinking it would push out the infection. This wasn't just ineffective, it made things far worse. When Lindsay returned to the US, her condition deteriorated quickly. She ended up in the emergency room, where doctors discovered she had a serious E. coli infection in her breast tissue. The infection was so severe that surgeons had to remove her nipples and milk ducts to save her life. The aftermath was brutal. Lindsay required multiple reconstructive surgeries to repair the damage, and the financial cost of her recovery was overwhelming. Reflecting on her experience, she said, "I was seeking perfection, but now I realize I was good enough." Number 11. Rachel Napier. In August 2018, Rachel Napier attended a Botox party at a friend's house, a casual gathering where beauty treatments were offered at discounted rates. At the event, Rachel decided to get lip fillers from a beautician. It seemed like a harmless choice at the time, but it quickly turned into a nightmare. The beautician made a terrible mistake, injecting filler into an artery in Rachel's lip. Within hours, her lips swelled up so badly that her top lip almost touched her nose. The pain was unbearable, like burning and throbbing at the same time, as if her lips might burst. Scared and unsure of what to do, Rachel called the beautician, who told her it was just an allergic reaction. But it wasn't. When Rachel finally went to the hospital, doctors quickly figured out what was wrong. The filler was blocking blood flow in her lip, and the tissue was at risk of dying, a condition called necrosis. It was a serious, life-threatening situation. This horrifying experience brought attention to a big problem with beauty treatments in the UK. The beautician didn't ask Rachel to sign any consent forms or check her medical history, and doing the procedure at a casual party showed how unprofessional and unsafe the industry could be. Rachel's story became famous, leading to calls for stricter rules to protect people from unsafe cosmetic procedures. Number 10. Joselyn Wildenstein. Joselyn Wildenstein's life is a story of glamour, extreme plastic surgery, and shocking twists. Born in Switzerland in 1940, she lived a modest life until marrying billionaire art dealer Alec Wildenstein in 1978. At first, she and Alec just got matching eye lifts, but soon, Joselyn became obsessed with changing her appearance. Over the years, she had so many surgeries that her face completely transformed. Friends said they rarely saw her without bandages because she was always recovering from something. Her sharp, feline-like features earned her the nickname Catwoman, making her one of the most talked-about people in the world of plastic surgery. In a surprising twist, Joselyn denied ever having surgery. In 2024, at 84 years old, she claimed, "I haven't had plastic surgery. I'm scared of it." She said she only tried Botox twice and stopped because it didn't suit her. Her denial shocked everyone, given her long history of dramatic transformations. Joselyn's financial life was just as extreme. After her messy 1999 divorce from Alec, She received a $2.5 billion settlement and $100 million every year for 13 years. But the judge added a surprising condition. She wasn't allowed to spend any of it on more surgeries. By 2018, Joselyn's fortunes had completely changed. She filed for bankruptcy, saying she had no money left. Her debts were overwhelming, and by 2020, she lost her 3 luxury apartments in Trump Tower. It was a stunning fall for someone who once lived like royalty. Number 9. Pete Burns. Pete Burns' life became one of the most famous examples of how plastic surgery can spiral out of control. In 1985, his band, Dead or Alive, was on top of the charts with their hit song, "You Spin Me Right Round," like a record. At that time, Burns decided to fix his broken nose, something photographers often criticized. What started as a small fix turned into an obsession with changing his face. Over his life, Burns had nearly 300 surgeries. He had 4 nose jobs, cheekbone implants, and countless lip procedures. He once said changing his face felt as normal as buying new furniture. He saw himself as clay, something to reshape whenever he wanted. But these surgeries came at a huge cost. One lip procedure went terribly wrong, and he ended up in the hospital for 10 days, fighting for his life. The medicines he took during recovery damaged his teeth so badly that he needed his entire smile rebuilt. Still, even after all this, Burns couldn't stop. He kept going back for more surgeries, no matter the risks. By 2016, Burns' health had taken a serious hit. The medicines from his many surgeries caused blood clots in his legs, heart, and lungs. At just 57, he died of a heart attack. A few weeks before his death, Burns appeared on a TV show called Celebrity Botched Up Bodies. He joked that he looked like Frankenstein, but it was clear the surgeries had taken over his life. Number 8. Raj Narin Singh. Raj Narin Singh's story is one of the most shocking examples of cosmetic surgery gone wrong. In the early 2000s, while transitioning, Raji wanted affordable feminization procedures. She couldn't afford professional surgery, so she turned to O'Neill Ron Morris, a woman known in Miami's transgender community for cheap treatments. What Raji didn't know was that Morris wasn't using safe materials. Instead of medical-grade silicone, Morris injected Raji with a mix of concrete, tire sealant, mineral oil, and superglue. These substances hardened under her skin, leaving painful lumps on her face, chest, and hips. The results were horrifying. For nearly 10 years, Raji avoided people and stayed home. She felt like a monster and called herself a circus sideshow. It got worse when another patient of Morris died from similar injections, and Morris was sentenced to 10 years in prison in 2017. Raji's recovery began in 2012 when a kind plastic surgeon, Dr. John J. Martin, offered to help for free. Her story was featured on the TV show Botched, where doctors removed the harmful materials. Over time, she had 4 surgeries and began to rebuild her confidence. Number 7. Barry Fair. In December 2023, 34-year-old Barry Fair from Leicester went to a clinic for a simple cosmetic procedure. He wanted dermal fillers to reduce his laugh lines, something that usually costs around £400 to £600 and is considered safe. But during his second round of injections, things went horribly wrong. The practitioner accidentally hit a major blood vessel in Barry's face, called the angular artery. Almost immediately, Barry felt unbearable pain. His nose and cheeks started to change color, turning dark and blotchy. The filler had gone into his bloodstream, blocking the flow of blood to important tissues. This caused something called vascular occlusion, where tissue starts to die because it isn't getting enough blood. Doctors tried to help, but the damage was already severe. The affected areas became dark purple and looked bruised. Parts of Barry's nose tissue died, and he had to go through several surgeries to fix it. One surgery involved taking skin from his thigh to rebuild the damaged area. Barry's face was left with permanent scars, and his nose became uneven. While swelling and bruising are common with fillers, what happened to Barry was extremely rare and much worse than anyone expected. Number 6. Sue Brick. In March 2023, 54-year-old Sue Brick decided to travel to Istanbul, Turkey, for cosmetic surgery. She wanted a tummy tuck and breast implants, but couldn't afford the high prices in the UK. In Turkey, the same procedure cost £6,000, much cheaper than at home. At first, everything seemed fine after the surgery, but just a few days later, Sue started to notice serious problems. Her abdomen became infected, and the skin began to die in some areas. The clinic she went to had already been reported for poor results, but Sue didn't know this before traveling. Things got even worse on her flight back to the UK. She was in so much pain and having trouble breathing that the plane had to make an emergency landing. When she arrived at a UK hospital, doctors found that the infections had spread badly. They had to remove the dead tissue immediately. Sue's recovery was a nightmare. Over the next year, she went through 9 surgeries to fix the damage. She had to deal with deep scars on her abdomen that looked like burn marks, and her breast implants had to be removed because of complications. The experience cost Sue much more than she expected. The corrective surgeries and ongoing care in the UK ended up costing over £45,000. Most of this came out of her pocket because her insurance didn't cover problems caused by elective surgery abroad. Number 5. Pixie Fox. Pixie Fox's story feels like something out of a movie. Born in Sweden, she used to work as an electrician, but she didn't feel like herself in her old life. She wanted to look like a cartoon character. To make this dream real, she had more than 200 plastic surgeries and traveled all over the world, from Iran to India, Korea to Dubai and the US, just to find the best doctors. One of her most shocking surgeries happened in Indiana, where a doctor removed 6 of her ribs to give her a super tiny waist, just 16 inches. The surgery wasn't cheap, costing up to $18,500. Even though it was a big and risky operation, Pixie was back wearing her corset just 2 days later. Pixie didn't stop there. She tried surgeries no one had ever done before. She even invented a new procedure where she transplanted her own pubic hair to make longer eyelashes. Her face went through big changes, too. She gave herself pointed elf ears, a fairy-like nose, brow lifts, and eyelid surgeries. On top of that, she had 4 breast surgeries, liposuction for a curvier body, and even a labiaplasty. This transformation wasn't just about money. She gave up her old career because her constant surgeries and recoveries didn't leave time for regular work. But for Pixie, it's worth it. Number 4. Jessica Elves. Jessica Alves' story is about finding her true self after years of struggle. She was born in Brazil in 1983 and had her first surgery at 17 to fix a medical condition. But this was just the beginning. Over the years, she spent more than £600,000 on surgeries, trying to find the right version of herself. Before she came out as transgender, Jessica tried to look like the perfect Ken doll. She wanted to appear masculine but never felt happy. She had 12 nose surgeries, which eventually made her lose her sense of smell. She even got dangerous gel injections in her arms to look more muscular, but they left her temporarily unable to move her arms. In 2020, Jessica made a brave decision. She came out as transgender and started her journey to become her true self. She had gender confirmation surgery, breast implants, and a vaginoplasty to complete her transformation. Jessica became a celebrity and appeared on TV more than 750 times in 24 countries. But life wasn't easy. She faced online hate and transphobia, which made her struggle emotionally. Thankfully, she had financial stability thanks to an inheritance, so she could live comfortably in London and Marbella while focusing on herself. In 2023, after 107 surgeries, Jessica decided to stop. She said the constant surgeries and cruel comments online had exhausted her. Now, she wants to live a happier life, find love, and focus on deeper connections, saying she's looking for someone who values intelligence over looks. Number 3. Donatella Versace. Donatella Versace's look has gone through one of the most dramatic changes in fashion. In 2013, she admitted during an interview, "I'm not like this genetically." With those words, she confirmed what many had already guessed. Her appearance had been heavily shaped by plastic surgery. Her journey started in the late 1990s, after her brother Gianni's tragic death in 1997. Taking control of the Versace empire put her under huge pressure. This may have pushed her to begin altering her look. By 2002, she had already started experimenting with cosmetic procedures and had dyed her hair blonde, a signature style she has kept ever since. Over time, her face changed dramatically. Experts believe she had multiple facelifts and cheek implants, but the most noticeable changes came from silicone injections in her lips and cheeks. These treatments were common before modern fillers became available, but they left her skin with a leathery texture. Her lips, in particular, developed a scalloped look, especially noticeable when she speaks. Number 2. Farah Abraham. Farah Abraham's journey with plastic surgery has been dramatic and, at times, troubling. She has been open about her many procedures, even talking about them in interviews like one on the Dumb Blonde podcast. However, the changes in her appearance have sparked a lot of debate. Farah's surgeries started when she was young, in her early 20s. She had a nose job that changed the shape of her nose and a chin implant, which she later said was a mistake. She admitted to struggling with facial dysmorphia during this time, saying, "I had that when I had that chin implant." She also had regular filler treatments and breast surgeries, although she doesn't talk much about the latter. What makes Farah's story stand out is how early she began transforming her look. Starting so young and having so many procedures has led to a noticeable evolution in her face. Social media has taken a keen interest in her changes. Posts about her appearance often draw thousands of comments, with many expressing concern about how different she now looks. Recently, her facial structure has changed so much that even medical professionals are using her case as an example. They warn about the risks of starting cosmetic procedures too early and doing them too frequently. Farah's openness about her struggles with dysmorphia gives insight into the emotional challenges that can come with such choices. Number 1. Dennis Avner. Born on August 27, 1958, he grew up as an ordinary boy and even served in the U.S. Navy. But deep inside, Dennis wanted to transform himself into something else entirely. Over 25 years, he turned his body into a living, breathing image of a tiger. He spent over $200,000 on surgeries, tattoos, and body modifications to achieve this. People around the world came to know him as Stalking Cat. But while his transformation amazed many, his story ended in heartbreak when he died by suicide at the age of 54 on November 5, 2012. The journey to becoming a tiger started with advice from a Native American chief. The chief told Dennis to follow the ways of the tiger, and Dennis took this to heart. Claiming Huron heritage, he decided to completely change his appearance. At first, it was simple, just some fish scale tattoos on his arms and legs. But soon, his modifications became much more intense. He added implants under his skin to change the shape of his face, split his upper lip, and reshaped his ears to look like a tiger's. Tattoos covered his face with tiger stripes, and his teeth were replaced with long, sharp fangs. He grew his nails into claws, wore contact lenses with slitted pupils, and even had whiskers attached to mounts implanted in his face. Every detail of his body was transformed to look like the animal he admired most. Despite his extreme appearance, Dennis worked regular jobs for much of his life. He was a computer programmer and a sonar technician, and later, his unique look brought him fame. He became a performer, appearing in shows like Ripley's Believe It or Not, and earning up to $8,500 for half-day appearances. In 2008, he even set a Guinness World Record for having the most permanent transformations to look like an animal. But while Dennis's outward transformation amazed many, his personal life was filled with struggles. By 2007, he was running out of money and publicly asked for help finding a place to live. He moved to a small town in Nevada when friends could no longer support him, taking odd jobs like renovating houses and working as a caregiver. It became clear that his life wasn't as glamorous as it seemed. On November 5, 2012, Dennis was found dead in his garage. He had taken his own life, leaving behind a world that didn't fully understand him. His friend Shannon Larrett described him as a wonderful and complex person who struggled as much as he amazed. Behind his tiger stripes was a man who faced abuse as a child and struggled to connect with others.